Hello and welcome to the Fabulous Women Podcast Studio. I'm your host, Kim Allen, and we have a great episode today. I want to welcome my very special guest, Dr. Dianne Rigos. Hello, Dr. Diane. How are you?
Hello, Kim. How are you?
I am so great. You know why? Because you're here with me today. And a lot of people may or may not know this about me, that I get to talk to my guests at length prior to the podcast. So I know what's coming and I'm really excited because Diane has such an incredible background and is going to be sharing a lot of information with us. So first things first, Diane, the name of this episode is Educating Leaders, Changing Systems, Dr. Dianne Rigos on STEM, Equity, and the Future. So that being said, would you mind if I read your bio first to the audience to set the stage, and then I will start with the questions? Is that okay with you?
Yes, please go ahead.
All righty. All right. So Dr. Rigos is a scientist, educator, and consultant. She began her career as the principal scientist at Physical Sciences, Inc. She transitioned to assistant, then associate professor of chemistry at Merrimack College. In 2017, she became the executive director of the MIT Thank you, Center for Technology and Design. And in 2019, program manager for the DOE-funded Center for Enhanced Nanofluidic Transport and associate director for graduate programs at the MIT Energy Initiative. She co-founded the MIT Leadership and Professional Skills and Strategies program. In 2021, she founded the nonprofit Epistimi, Inc. We're going to talk about that a lot today, to offer leadership training to women in STEM globally. Dr. Rigos has been part of the leadership team of the MIT Club of Boston since 2018. Further, Dr. Rigos holds a BA in chemistry from Cornell University, a PhD in physical chemistry from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and an MBA from Northeastern University, and is an alumna of HERS Denver 2015. She served as president of the Massachusetts chapter of the Association for Women in Science. I'm a member, and president of the MIT Club of Boston. And finally, she's been teaching leadership to graduate students and postdocs in the MIT Physics Department for the past 6 years. How about that? So, Dr. Diane.
Sounds good.
It's amazing. Are you kidding me? Most people would give their left arm for that type of resume bio. I have a question for you before we begin. Is there anything that you would like to say or add before we begin with the podcast questions?
I think we're going to get all the answers with all those amazing questions that you came up with.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, so I divide my questions into buckets for the audience so that they follow our little train of thought here. So Dr. Rigos' original story and mission, I was so curious about that. So my first question for you, Dr. Diane, you've spent your career moving between academia, nonprofit leadership, and global training programs. What originally inspired you to focus so deeply on women's leadership in STEM?
Yes. So I think it's a double reason. I had a very big transition while I was a professor of chemistry. I had the opportunity to teach a first-year seminar at my college, and we could choose any topic we wanted. So I chose women in science, and I taught that for many years. And I really got into all the stories that I had never heard about and how inspiring they were to me and my students. So I think talking more about other women scientists is very helpful for women who are currently in science because we face similar challenges. So that's how I got started. And then on the training women scientists to be leaders was after I got my own leadership training at HERS. So getting leadership training made me realize that I could have used it when I got my PhD.
Isn't that always the way? Right? We don't get it when we need it. And then when we get it, we're so far ahead. And yet the people behind us, they're in that same boat unless they're getting that training that you so believe in. Okay. So you've said that sometimes one course can change a life, Dr. Diane. What moment or experience changed yours?
I think that the course that changed me was really the HERS leadership training course, because I hadn't been in a group of women since high school. So I went to an all-girls high school, and that's why I think I ended up succeeding in STEM, because I had wonderful teachers in STEM, and I could ask any question I wanted and learn very comfortably without worrying what the boys would think. And then when I finally got my leadership training in 2015, I realized, wow, this is, and I saw the effect. What happened was, after getting the leadership training, I completely changed my life. I
Mhm.
I expanded my horizon and my vision. It wasn't just enough for me to be a chemistry professor anymore. I wanted to have more impact on the world, and that's how I got started on the leadership training of younger women in STEM.
So, for the audience, I know that you just mentioned this, and I'm looking here at your bio. Could you explain what hers is?
Yes. So hers is a program for senior women in academia,
Hmm.
and you have to apply. It's competitive. You have to come with a leadership project, and it was the program that I participated in was a 2-week in-person program that trains senior women to become leaders in academia. And it's a big program, so there were about 70 participants in my cohort, which is a
Wow.
lot. So you don't really get to know everyone. But it had the impact is like, okay, I now have a degree, a certificate in leadership. And so that means that I can uh, do something great. And so with that little piece of paper, I felt empowered to go and do something much bigger than I had ever done.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's very it's very impressive. I just wish that a lot of people could take those courses. But I guess I'm just curious, why is it only for senior women?
It's because their specific goal is to train women to become like deans, provosts, and presidents.
Okay.
It's for more senior. What I offer in my leadership training through Epistimi is lower level leadership training. So because I believe that the leadership journey is a long one, and it takes time to become a great leader. So I think if you start when you're a graduate student, postdoc, or early career, then by the time you're ready for a leadership role, you'll be amazing.
Right. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're taping this because I'm going to go back and listen to that part. You're 100% correct. Okay. So now we understand your story, we understand your mission. So from there, let's take a look at what's going on right now with women in leadership in STEM. What are the systemic barriers or even a leaking pipeline, if you will? So, my next question is, when we often hear about the leaking pipeline, women leaving STEM careers due to toxic environments or structural barriers. From your global perspective, Dr. Diane, what are the biggest root causes, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the toxic environment is one of the root causes, but I want to clarify that and you can read some of my blogs. There are blogs on the Epistimi website for women in STEM. We've been doing it now for 2 years, and we actually have one about the leaking pipeline. But basically, it's not a leaking pipeline. It's actually women are actually being pushed out. They're not leaving intentionally. They don't want to leave science, but they are forced to leave science. And so it's really a very sad and in a way wasteful system, because we spend all this money training women to be scientists, and they spend 4 years of undergrad, 5 or 6 years of grad school, years of postdoc, so like 10 to 15 years training, and then they are pushed out or they can't get a job because their professor won't write them a letter of recommendation, or he won't let them publish their results of their research. I mean, that happens more often than you would imagine.
Okay, I'm really speechless. People that know me know that about me. I've got to pause right now because this is unbelievable. Um, Is that just one of the ways that they're pushed out, that there's a professor who won't write them a letter of recommendation or won't publish their research? Is that just one of the ways? Are there other
Yes,
ways
yes.
too?
I mean, there are other ways where women basically aren't allowed to move up in the system, and so they give up, so they're not promoted. So they're there the same amount of time as the men. The men get promoted, the women don't. And so they, in a way, the environment becomes so negative for them that they can't stay for their own good, right? How can you stay in an environment where your work is not appreciated and rewarded and other people's work is?
Okay, so again, I want to go back to something that you just said. Why are they not allowed to move forward?
Because they are not promoted. Their bosses won't promote them. So, I mean, I just had a meeting a few weeks ago with a woman who was basically helping the CEO do all these things. And she, the CEOs are leaving. She was trying to apply for a CEO position. She's done all the work of CEOs, but she can't get the position.
So the people that are holding women back from being promoted, are these men holding women back, or are these also women holding women back?
I think it's both, but I think a lot of times it's not just, it's groups of men, right? It's the board that may be all men. I think the more women we have on boards, the more likely women are going to get into senior leadership positions. But when the board is, 90% men, it's much harder for a woman to get chosen sometimes. And that seems to be the case. I mean, if you look, the only way that we've made progress over, the entire world is if you look at countries where they have a quota for boards, where boards have to have such a percentage of women on them, like France has such a quota to get women in those positions. And then that helps other women, come into CEO, CFO, COO positions.
Okay. That's disheartening.
And I've also seen situations where a woman starts a company, she's the scientist, and then once a company is doing well, the board, and she was the president, the board gets rid of her and puts a man in her place.
I'm just pausing because this is very upsetting to me to hear this. All right, we're going to keep moving with the questions because hopefully we'll come up with some solution toward this that will help chip this away. So, Dr. Diane, how does ageism and cultural expectations, like your observations about women doing it all, shape the challenges for the women facing STEM, for women who face in STEM?
So I think the cultural expectations are more dominant, and they depend on which country you're talking about. Right? And so in some countries, the women are expected to do everything. And therefore, it's much harder for them to succeed. And in some countries, there's no good childcare. There's no affordable childcare. And then that becomes even more difficult and more expensive for you to stay in your job if you have children, right? But now I see more of men, especially in Europe, men staying at home and being the caretakers, the primary parent, and the women being the career parent.
Right.
That definitely is happening more. But as far as ageism goes, the other thing that I've noticed is that men often promote young women. And then when they reach a certain age and they're not as quote unquote attractive or whatever, they don't want older women, right? They don't encourage or support older women the way they support younger, attractive women. So that's how ageism comes in.
Right. Right. I tell the story, I've told it a few times on my other episodes, that I graduated on a Saturday, on a plane Sunday, started training Monday from college. And I landed with like this key, sweet job with a very top, high Fortune rank organization. To make a long story short, I started as a sales representative and it was in pharmaceuticals. And to make a long story short, I remember when I came on board, I looked around and there were no women my age. And and it turned out my district manager, who was the lowest level leader in the company, I finally said, "Why aren't there any women?" And she's like, "Oh, you noticed?" She said, "Yeah, you know what? You'll see once you get close to 30, they put you out to pasture." So I thought that my career, which is endless, was that wide because that's just the way it was back then. So hearing this shows me that some things have not changed even after all these years. Diane, when we're looking at your global leadership work, you've taught leadership for scientists at MIT and run programs in Greece, Finland, Japan, and beyond. What differences and similarities do you see across cultures when it comes to women's leadership?
Well, I would say that I don't see women leaders. I see them in the process of becoming leaders. And so one of the main things that I see is the low self-confidence everywhere. So women in STEM are more insecure, I would say, than the men, obviously. And that low self-confidence is a barrier. And then what I do in my leadership program is to grow their self-confidence, because my leadership training grew my self-confidence so that I felt, yes, I can, take on this big role. But before that leadership training, I wasn't sure I could. And so when women aren't sure, they don't do it. And so you need encouragement to take on that extra role.
Right, right. You frequently meet women fleeing difficult or even dangerous situations, such as those leaving Middle Eastern countries, for example. How does leadership training support their freedom and their future?
I think for them, it's really great to see role models of women from other countries. Um, I think they're inspired by that. Obviously, it grows their confidence to be in a program like this. I had a woman from Afghanistan who, was a refugee in Greece, and she took my program, and she's doing really well. She's now in the U.S. studying in graduate school, getting another graduate degree. She has a couple already. And there's also the network. Once you participate in a program and having a network and a safe space, which is what we create in a leadership program that's all for women, it's a safe space. You can talk about all the challenges that you have. And what comes out is how many of these women face similar challenges, whether they're from this country or that country.
That's very curious. Okay. So what have you learned from your international workshops, such as the Athens 5-day leadership program with 6 follow-up Zoom sessions? What is it that surprised you the most about that, Diane?
I guess we already talked about the first thing, how the safe space brings out these incredible challenges and sexual harassment experiences that these women have had. It seems like nothing has changed since I was a graduate student, essentially. It's not as obvious sexual harassment as it used to be, but it's still there. In fact, because it's less obvious, it's harder to handle. The other thing that I've noticed is the transformation of the women when they start the program, like 5 days later, how in 5 days they've already been transformed. I was especially blown away by the women who came from Africa. I had 3 women from Africa come to my workshop in Greece. And the first couple of days, they were very reserved. They sat next together. They didn't really talk to the other people. And by the end of the week, they were in front of the classroom talking about their plans for the future and giving talks and friendly with everyone. It was just, they were so transformed by seeing how these other women are acting, and wanting to be like them in a way, and wanting to, or feeling I can be just like that. I'm smart enough. I can do everything. I'm not limited. So it's a lot about your own limitations on yourself, which you don't even know you're putting on because they're unconscious from society. Society unconsciously puts these boundaries on you, and you don't even know you have them until you are in an environment where you see other women who don't have them.
Right. Exactly. That's
So
very
doing these mixed workshops where not everyone is from the same country is very powerful.
exactly. And I can hear even just from those beautiful women from Africa that in the beginning they just stay to themselves, and towards the end they're just having so much fun, it seems, which is great, right? They're so smart, but we have to have fun too. But that's so impactful. I love hearing these stories. I'm sure those who are listening right now too love hearing that. Okay, so we're now moving into you. You were the founder, you're the president and founder of Epistimi, correct? I want to say that correctly. All right. It's your nonprofit. It was founded in 2021. It's now helping women in STEM around the globe. What gap did you see that you say, I have to create this myself?
I think it was the fact that I realized how valuable it could be. And when I finished my HERS leadership training, I went to the president of HERS and I said, can you please, you know, have a program like this for younger women in science? And she said, that's not our mission. Why don't you do it? So I was sort of handed this mission by the president of HERS.
Wow. And but look at you now. Look at what you're doing. How wonderful that you
It
did.
only took me 10 years to get here. I mean, I started, in 2015, and actually, I've been progressing, making progress every year.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad you're here. So, still talking about your nonprofit, offers leadership by women in STEM for women in STEM. Why is that distinction so important today, Diane?
I mean, I think that the safe space that we create is really important. There are no other programs quite like this. There are a couple of leadership programs for women in STEM that I've seen. Um, Actually, one, and that one is really not taught by STEM people. It has a couple of STEM people, but most of the instructors are not scientists at all. And when I participated in that program, I was like, wow, how can she tell me what to do? She has no idea what my work life is like, what the challenges are. So I think it's very valuable to have women scientists use their experiences and wisdom to help other women scientists.
Okay. When we talk about your effect on corporate and institutional change, some companies often say that they want more women leaders, but progress remains slow. What would you tell CEOs who want to support real, measurable change?
I would say start training your women when they first enter your company so that when they get to the point professionally where they can be leaders, they will be amazing. One of
Mm,
the big problems is women leaders, I mean, women are chosen to be leaders and they don't have the preparation they need. So then when they fail, people say, okay, see, we had a woman leader, but she was a disaster.
right,
And the reason she was a disaster is because she wasn't trained for the position.
right, right. She wasn't developed for the position.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's sad. You've helped companies sponsor women for leadership courses, Diane. What impact would you want toward retention, advancement, and culture?
I think the greatest impact is for men and women to support each other and not be competitive in the workplace.
Mm,
I think a big problem that I've faced are other women who are older than me basically blocking my career, blocking my promotions. So I think the pie is big enough for all of us. This hoarding mentality is like, you know, that people feel like I can't share, I can't, help you because that'll hurt me. When you help other people, that helps you. So people who think that helping other people, they're going to lose on it are completely wrong.
it's amazing. I really thought that the days of women blocking women were few and far between, but it doesn't seem to be that way. And that is disheartening to hear that, because you're right that there's enough space for all of us. Even though if we're in a smaller space, there's no space. And I do mean, I love women. I support women, and I promote women. So I'm one of the women who want to push other women to the front. And I find it hard to believe that I am an anomaly. But maybe there's few of us who feel that way. I mean, you also promote women and support women, and I can tell that you love women. So we need to do something about that, Diane. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I think it has to do with the patriarchy. Maybe some women want to be the favorite, and they are afraid that if another woman gets promoted, then she might become the favorite of the CEO or something, and so they want to you know, keep some of those special privileges for themselves.
Again, I'm speechless to hear these answers. It's so disheartening. We've got a lot of work to do, everyone. All right, so I have two more buckets of questions for you before we close. So this one is about your academic and professional legacy, Diane. You left a tenured position, something many people would never give up. What inner guidance helped you make that leap?
Yeah, I mean, it was really connecting to myself and realizing that I wanted to have more impact. Um, One of the things that we didn't talk about is how after I got tenure, I got very sick,
Mm.
and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. It took me a long time to figure out that I got sick because I didn't want to be tenured.
Oh, geez.
Because being tenured means it was like a prison. I'd have to stay here for the rest of my life, right?
Uh, yeah.
So, giving up tenure was to do something bigger.
Okay. Wow. Because there are a lot of people, men and women, who would never give up tenure. Never.
It's scary. It's scary because tenure is you have a reliable income for the rest of your life.
Right.
And it's hard to give that up and then, be in a job that you could lose funding for or even get fired for that matter. I mean, I haven't been fired, but the funding for some of the positions I've had has run out. So I've had to create new things and
Right.
find new opportunities.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank goodness you did. All right. I have two more questions before we close. You recently received the American Women in Science Zenith Award for your impact. Looking back, what accomplishments are you most proud of, and what's next for you?
I mean, I think for me, the big accomplishment is creating Epistimi, creating my own nonprofit. I was inspired to do this by Mr. Ratan Tata, who funded the MIT Tata Center for Technology and Design. He was an incredible human being who created many nonprofits, and I realized that I wanted to do something like that. So I'm very proud to have done that. And I think the next thing is to sort of transition and train more younger women to take on my role of continuing Epistimi because I'm not going to be around forever.
Right.
And to do, to start leadership programs in as many countries as I can before I can't
Mm,
do it anymore.
right. Right. Okay. So, my final question for you, Diane, is looking into the future. If you could transform just one thing about how the world trains, mentors, and treats women in STEM, what would it be and why?
Yes, I struggled with this one. And I finally came up with I really think we need to change the K through 12 system for girls so that they can learn science and math in a girls only classroom. Like I had the opportunity to do. I think that's the main reason I survived and succeeded in science because I had the confidence. Um, Now, it's very rare to have all girls schools,
Yes.
but we could easily have classrooms for girls only in math and science. And in that environment, the girls could ask the questions they want and not feel intimidated or criticized by the boys. And then when they reach university, they would be amazingly well equipped to be better scientists and have the confidence they need to succeed.
That's just fantastic. I 100% promote that as we discussed prior, Diane. I also went to all girls high school. My daughter went to all girls high school, and no doubt we benefited from that. Um, I am just so delighted that you were a guest today. I've learned so much. I will say, though, for everyone listening and watching, ladies and men, we have a lot to do. We're almost into 2026. We should not still be talking about this. So I welcome everyone to look at Diane, look at her profile on LinkedIn. And I want to thank you so very much for joining the Fabulous Women podcast studio today. You are an amazing guest, and I hope you come back sometime.
Thank you, Kim, for inviting me. It's been so much fun talking to you, and I'm sure we'll run into each other in person next time.
I know we will. That I'm going to make happen. So, in closing, I always like to say this because, again, I am my own message. I love women, I support women, and I promote women. And one way that I do that is through my platform, which is my podcast. So, anyone out there who you think is a fabulous woman or you want to recommend them to me, please call me, look me up, look at my LinkedIn profile. And I have an ask, a very big ask every time I end my episode, and is this: I ask everyone, especially women, please pay it forward to other women. Don't make the younger generations have to kick down the brick walls that we had to, right? But listening to Dr. Diane, it still seems that there are walls up there that are super glued that still need to be kicked down. It should not be that way. So whether it's the younger generation coming up or someone who is maybe mid-career that needs to be promoted, let them be a candidate and interview them, and let's support women and let them rise together. And finally, always keep watching my episodes. This is where you're going to be learning about all these amazing women, fabulous women like Dr. Diane, what they're doing out there, ways that we can contribute as well. So until next episode, I always say this: stay fabulous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim.